Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's pharmacy near you.
Good morning and welcome to the programme. Hope you had a great long weekend. Anybody who was at Day Tripper and to the organisers at Day Tripper, congratulations. You did a really, really marvellous job. Please send in your texts. 083 3333 975. That's 083 3333 975. Text or WhatsApp. You can call Audrey on 051 846 123. We've a lot of things to cover on the programme this morning. We're going to be looking at Scouting Ireland. We're going to be looking at Trump's visit. Want to hear your views on that. We'll be talking to Jack Power about the apology that Scouting Ireland are going to be issuing. We'll be talking to Kieran Kennedy regarding driving test instructors and what excuses people make if they fail their driving test, and also financial matters and lots of other things beside, and obviously the hurling. So have your texts and comments coming in about the hurling. First, we're going to go to Cappoquin and we're going to talk to Ciara. Ciara Reddy. Good morning, Ciara.
Good morning, Damien. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Ciara, is it raining in Cappoquin at the minute?
Absolutely pouring down.
Absolutely pouring down. And what's the weather like in Crete at the minute, do we know?
It's 23 degrees and balmy, and I wish I had been there with my two kids. We were due to be there, but unfortunately that's not the case. We're here in Cappoquin.
You're in Cappoquin. Ciara, this is a story which people will relate to very, very much. It's also a warning to people regarding not only passports and making sure that passports are up to date, and now is the season where it's coming in, but also about affidavits, and we'll talk about that in a second. Tell us a little bit about yourself first, and tell us, you were in New Zealand years ago. Did you live in New Zealand for a few years, was it?
Yeah, I did, Damien. I lived in New Zealand for a total of about 5 years altogether. And my daughter, Brooke, was born in New Zealand. I moved back to Ireland in 2007. And before I moved back, obviously, I was given full guardianship and custody of my daughter, Brooke, as her dad is in New Zealand. So, yeah, we came back here, and I'm a social care worker, and I've worked mostly with people who are autistic and who have challenging behaviour. And I've most recently gone back to college to do my master's because I had a change in circumstances a couple of years ago, and I was unable to continue to do full-time work, but I was working nights in the nursing home and weekends. Up until very recently, I was put off work because I was doing my master's and working nights and weekends, so I was exhausted from the whole lot.
And you have a second daughter. What's her name?
Her name is Faye.
And how old is she?
She's 9.
Okay. And how old would Brooke be now?
Brooke is 13.
13.
14. Yeah.
So her father is no longer part of her life, hasn't been part of her life for more than 10 years since you came back to Ireland.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, that relationship didn't continue.
Yeah. So when you left New Zealand and when you had to get a passport for Brooke, you would have had to get what's called an affidavit. Is that right, from the New Zealand authorities?
Absolutely. And so I went through quite a lengthy process of having Brooke be in my custody, in my day-to-day care. And that's a parenting order. That's what they call it in New Zealand. Obviously, I understand and appreciate that custody and guardianship are two different things. Brooke is in my custody. I am also her guardian, and her father has not, at any stage in the last 11 years, tried to get guardianship or have custody of Brooke in any way, shape or form.
Okay.
So I had... Yeah.
So when you come back to Ireland then and you're here and you look for a passport, so you got a passport for Brooke more than 3 years ago, was it?
Oh, actually, it's going way back. I applied for her first passport because she only had a New Zealand passport. I applied for, and we had intended to live here, obviously. So I applied for her passport. She was given her passport. I applied for a renewal when that came up in time. She got her renewal. gave them the affidavit, I gave them her birth cert, all of that, everything was fine. I tried to apply for her passport this time, and unfortunately that was not the case.
And we'll come to that in a second. So just before Christmas, and obviously money in lots of different families can be very tight, but you decided to treat your children to a special Christmas present. So on Christmas Day, you present them with this idea and this sort of that we're going to go away in holidays in June. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I did. And they were so excited. We were all excited because last year we got away for a day and a night in Dublin. But it's been a long time since we've been able to go anywhere like this. Was a real treat, you know. It was a real treat. So,
and you were planning to fly out on Sunday, that's 2 days ago, at 3:00 from Dublin Airport for a week's holidays to Crete, yourself and your two daughters. And how much was the total package holiday going to cost you?
So I did it online, Damien, because it's cheaper and you get so much money off. I mean, this was very basic bonus holiday. It was a week in Crete in a 2-star studio, 1-bedroom studio apartment for me and the two girls. We just wanted some sun, be by the sea, you know, that's what it was. And I paid it off in installments, yeah.
So again, because you're doing your masters, as I say, money can be very tight. So this was a real treat, and you were saving constantly, and for the last 6 months, saving and saving and saving to get this. So we're looking at more than 1.5, maybe €2,000 in total. And
sorry, yeah, it was. Sorry, Damien, that was your question. Yeah, it was. It was about 1,500.
Okay.
1,300 with the reduction you get online. Yeah.
And then you apply, you look at Brooke's passport and you say, OK, we need to get renewal for her passport. So you send off her old passport, or you go through the system as normal. You send off the affidavit. Again, you have had this done before, so there hasn't been a problems. And you're tracking it online, are you, for the last few weeks?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And so they received the application on the 9th of May, and it was being processed, and I was every couple of days checking in to see how it was going, and everything was fine. It gave me the issue date initially of the 28th, which I had expected because I did it through Passport Express. And then when I went online, I didn't get it on the 28th, and I was like thinking, why is that? So went online, it still said processing, and then it was due to be released on the 29th. Still processing, didn't hear anything. And last Thursday, I got in touch with the passport office, and I said to them, you know, where's the passport? And they said to me, oh, you're going to get a letter in the morning, and you'll have a contact person who you can contact, and they will talk to you about your passport application. So I said, okay, I didn't realise that there was any problem. No one said that there was a problem. So I said, could I not talk to somebody now? They said, no, you can't. You'll have a direct line to talk to somebody on Friday morning. I said, well, look, we're due to leave on Sunday and I'm getting a bit frantic. And they said, no, you'll be given a direct line with somebody that you can talk to on Friday. I went to the post office Friday morning, was waiting outside the door actually for it to open, got the letter, looked at it, and it said that I needed to include an affidavit for Brooke, which I had already done, and her long birth cert. That was my problem. What I had done there, and I'll hold my hands up to it, I had, by accident, because we've just recently moved into this house, I had given a photocopy of her original birth cert. But no problem. There was still plenty of time. I would have gone to Dublin on Friday, given them the birth cert. No problem, no issue. I could have done that. There wasn't any issue with that. So I contacted the person who was supposed to be dealing with it, and I had their name and the fact that they were on a team. So I constantly rang from 9 o'clock until about 10:30. Still couldn't get this person. Went to the main switchboard, and if anybody out there knows, when you go to the switchboard, you're waiting at least 15 minutes to talk to somebody. I eventually spoke to somebody and asked them, can I please speak to this person? They had an attitude with me, first of all, and said to me, well, there's lots of people with that name there. And I said, okay, well, this is the only name I have. Then they turned around and said, yeah, we'll get somebody to ring you back. And I waited. So I waited an hour and nobody rang back. I rang the switchboard again, having tried several times to get in touch with this person again, repeatedly. Nobody rang back. So got in touch with the switchboard again, waited another 15 minutes, spoke to them again. I asked, could I speak to somebody on the team? If she wasn't available, could I speak to somebody on the team?
Okay.
That still didn't happen. It still didn't happen, Damien. Nobody rang me back. It's now pushing on to 12 o'clock midday on Friday. And I spoke to somebody again on the switchboard and I said, look, nobody is ringing me back. Can I come up to Dublin? I'll leave now and I'll come straight up. And they said, no, you'll have to make an appointment. And I said, okay. I explained all the case to them. I said, when can I get an appointment? They kept saying to me, Tuesday. I said, we're leaving on Sunday. We're due to leave on Sunday. No, nobody. Well, sorry, there's nothing we can do about that. Sorry, there's nothing we can do about that. I, in the meantime, went and got an affidavit from my solicitor. Now, nowhere, Damien, can I just say this? This is my point. Nowhere on the application form does it say that it has to be a current Irish affidavit or, a current Irish court proceeding.
Yeah.
She was born in New Zealand. So, that was jurisdiction that gave me custody and guardianship of Brooke. So, there's no evidence anywhere in Ireland of me having that. I had to provide the passport office with original documentation.
Yes.
No problem.
And you contacted local councillor John Pratt. He contacted me on Friday as well, and we made efforts to try and get it sorted through the passport office. I contacted some people that would have very good contacts there, and we weren't able to get it sorted. You went into the solicitor, as you say, on Friday afternoon. You got a new affidavit signed. We scanned that, sent that up to Dublin, and still no luck. We contacted TUI to see if you could get on another plane the following week, because it's only one plane a week, but you were told online that it would cost around €800, more than €800 to rebook it for the following week, money which obviously you don't have.
Absolutely. It would be upwards of €800. Upwards. The girl on with TUI told me it would be double the price. I was just we didn't even have that much, Damien, being straight up at you, to go away and spend. This was bare bones, I'm telling you now, honestly, bare bones of a holiday. But we were going away in the sun. I also tried to fly out at a later date, still trying to be hopeful that we might get a flight and go out later on in the week. The cheapest I could get is from London, and that would have cost us somewhere around just a little bit over €600. That's just not money that I have.
No, absolutely. And we made every effort. And while this was going on, Ciara, how did you feel? We were talking the other day on Friday evening, possibly, even the suggestion of going on holidays without Brooke, yourself and Faye, but that would just be horrendous to leave her behind, because this was something that they were looking forward to since Christmas, and you were looking forward to since Christmas.
Absolutely, Damien, absolutely. They were devastated. And my daughter, Brooke, honestly, it'll tell you just, I'm bursting with pride for her, because the first thing she turned around and said is, Mommy, maybe another family could use it. And that was from her, from a child 13 years of age. And I just thought to me, as a mom, that infuriated me so much, and I was just so heartbroken. I was just so heartbroken for them. They're good kids. They don't have a lot. They don't get a lot. They're really, really good kids. And I'm immensely proud of them. Immensely proud of them. But can I just fill you in, Damien, on something that happened this morning?
Yeah. Just tell people first, what did you decide to do then? You decided to give the holiday to your sister, is that it?
I absolutely did, because she has been a great support to me and my two girls. She's always there to help me look after them, and I just didn't want the holiday to go to waste. I really didn't. And I had talked to John Pratt, who has been nothing but, and yourself, he has been amazing, so kind. The amount of work that John Pratt put into trying to help me, and you as well, try and help our family, was amazing.
That's the least we can do, because it's a horrendous predicament you find yourself in, and you found yourself in, because every family can relate to it. The idea of the passport not arriving on time, and then something like this coming up. And I spoke to a senior politician about this, and the laws have been changed somewhat in the last few years. So if people have issues with affidavits from previous times, make sure to check with the passport office in terms of what affidavit is necessary. Isn't that part of it?
Absolutely. And going back to a point I was saying earlier on, on the application and online, it says nothing about a current Irish application, nothing at all. It says nothing about a current Irish affidavit. I had before given in the affidavit from New Zealand. I had given in the court papers from New Zealand. It was never ever an issue. This wasn't the first time I had renewed her passport, Damien, and it was like, but nobody was there to help, except yourself and John Pratt. Nobody at all was there to help.
I feel so sorry for you. So your holiday is now gone, and your holiday for your 2 children is now gone, and thankfully your sister has been able to use the holiday. Will you get away at all during the summer now, do you think?
No, absolutely not, Damien. No, we won't. We're going to try and do something nice, like maybe, I don't know, something nice. To us is just, we'll go off to the swimming pool, or we'll go on, maybe a day trip up to Cork or wherever, but that's not going to happen, Damien. That's not just going to happen. We just don't have the money for that, we just don't. And can I just say something, Damien? This morning, I had a phone call just before I came here to speak to you. I had a phone call from the passport office from the person who was supposed to deal with this case on Thursday or Friday, and they said they don't know what the issue was. They said that the phone call was never put through to them all the times I had rang. She said that she had to leave the office on Friday or on Thursday, and that she could have dealt with it no problem. And I was saying to her, well, there's no point talking about that now. She said anytime I had rang the switchboard, it hadn't gone through. She had received emails, on my behalf, like me saying, what's the problem? Why is there a problem? Can I get an appointment? And I said to her, I also tried on Friday evening to get an appointment to see somebody on Saturday, and I was told, no way. There's no way anybody's going to see you on Saturday. I was actually going to get on a bus and go up and stand outside the passport office and beg them, but I was told repeatedly, since Thursday, there's no appointment available. You cannot get an appointment. Yes, online it says if you're travelling within 3 days, if it's an emergency, you can see someone. When I said this to this gentleman after hours on Friday, he turned around and he said to me, well, is somebody dying? And I said, well, nobody is dying, no, but we're due to go on holiday. I had just this lady again who rang, who I should have been speaking to on Thursday and Friday, had to leave work. And I said to her, so what happens then if you've got to leave work? I asked to speak to somebody on your team, and she said that nobody had rang her back. She's going to go now and speak to her supervisor, and I have asked her to ring me back by 11 o'clock this morning and let me know why it was that this could not have been sorted out. So she has admitted that it was not passed on. But one way or another, it doesn't matter now, does it?
No, it doesn't. But at the same time, it's just horrendous. It's just awful. Kira, there's some people texting in to say they feel so sorry for you. We'll keep in touch. Will you let us know what happens and give me a ring tomorrow, and we'll see if we can sort out something. And I'm so sorry for you, and so sorry for Brooke and Faye that you're not going to have a holiday this summer.
Absolutely, Damien. Well, Damien, thank you, and to John Pratt as well for all your help. Thank you so much, and I hope it helps other families. I really do hope it helps other families. Thanks, Damien.
Kira, thank you very much. Kira Reddy there in Cappoquin. You've been listening to her on Déise today. Texts and calls coming in about the hurling. We're going to be talking about the future for Waterford hurling next.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to mulliganspharmacy.com. Mulligans, we are closer to you.
You can make it soul, make it real, make it rock, make it blues, make it bounce, make it hip hop.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligans. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligans pharmacy near you.
Now, welcome back to the programme. Keep your texts and calls coming in 083 3333 975 for your text or WhatsApp, or 051 846 123. Audrey is there waiting for your calls. Now, on the line we have John Fogarty, GA writer with the Irish Examiner. Good morning, John.
Morning, Damien. How are you?
Good, thank you. And we have Shane Shiner Hearn. Good morning, Shane.
How are you, Damien? How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Good. Okay, John. Thoughts, please.
I think we all know, like, technically, and I know I'm grasping at straws here from a Waterford perspective, but they're not technically out of the championship yet. Although I think everybody in the county is resigned to it. I don't expect only the diehards to make the trip to Porky Creek next Saturday, Damien, but 3 consecutive defeats, 8 championship games without a win. It's pretty glaring. It's pretty dismal. I think everybody knows that. I think everybody associated with the team, the players know it, the management know it. Paul Fanning at the weekend said he was flummoxed by it. By this drop, because there was a feel good factor in the county at the start of the year, as much as there were injuries. Did very well Division 1B, and then to get to a league final, everything boded well. As difficult as it was, a Rubik's cube really to predict the top, or how the 5 would finish in the Munster Championship. And I certainly had Waterford finishing in the top 3. I know a few other people did as well, but there's a melee there at the moment, and it's going to take. It's certainly going to take a season or two to rectify it.
Yeah, Shane. Whatever about the fans turning up on Saturday against Cork, we have to get the players to turn up. Mary has texted in, I'm a lifelong supporter who believes it's an honour to wear the Waterford jersey. I don't care what's going on at the camp. The hurlers should give 100% when they step onto the pitch. You have been quoted extensively in the Irish Times today. Shane, what's your thoughts on the matter?
Yeah, it was very disappointing. I just think, coming into the championship, John mentioned it, like we all felt we were in a good place. We got to a league final, didn't particularly play well in the league final. We had a good league, a bad final, let's say. And the word from the camp was very positive. There was good spirit. They went on training camp to Portugal. I think everything seemed to be going well. I thought the display against Clare the first day in Welsh Park was very flat for some reason, as if they just left their energy in the dressing room or something like that. I thought against Tipperary that we worked hard and, we had our finger in the dam a little bit, and I think, when Conor Leeson was sent off, we were under pressure, but we still came from 9 or 10 points down, back to 3 points, and that doesn't happen without a good spirit in the camp, and I think when the goal went in against Tipperary, which brought it back to 6 points, I just thought, again, just too much for the lads, and again, kind of petered out fairly badly for us, let's say. But last Sunday was one of the worst I've seen. I've seen us getting beaten by more, but I just thought the display, the individual displays, I can't understand, as a former hurler myself, I can't understand that you go out playing championship hurling and that, you just seem to stand up. You don't seem to really go for it. Even if on an individual basis, I think fellas should kind of let me play well. Welsh Park looked brilliant on Sunday. There was a great crowd there. Nearly 11,000 people. The pitch was fantastic. The sun was shining. Would you not go out and show off for yourself and something else? I can't understand how it got so bad so quickly.
Yeah.
Just before the player game seemed to be good, the atmosphere seemed to be good, and all of a sudden it's very flat now. It's very poor.
John, there's so many different aspects to this, and obviously we won't in 15 minutes get to all of those, but people talk about, a texter, that the heart and passion is destroyed in Waterford hurling. Something seriously wrong. Players have no guidance. You don't become a bad team overnight. Management need to look at themselves. Some people saying management need to step down. Others saying that the manager shouldn't be taking responsibility for this, in the sense that there's structures there. The county board needs to step down. Money spent on a training trip to Portugal, but was Porrick the first choice? All these things, and it's like anything. When there's a defeat of this magnitude, the stuff that is behind the curtain gets pulled out from behind the curtain, and you see all the issues that come up. Isn't that right, John?
It is, Derek. Everything is up for debate when everything shouldn't be up for debate. I think we're going to see retirements now in the next couple of weeks, which is unfortunate, but at the same time, Waterford just has a fine record of getting the most out of players. The longevity of some players has been just remarkable, going back to Tony Brown and now obviously Brick Walsh. The fact that he wasn't used until last weekend, I know that sticks in a few people's craw. That is one thing of criticism that might be made of Park, but I think we'd want to be very careful now about criticising management here, because I know Derek McGrath's first year was no picnic either. Obviously, what Derek inherited, I was right about this today myself.
That's right,
Derek inherited certainly wasn't as strong as what Pádraig had inherited from Derek, but at the same time, Derek was given that year's grace, although he admitted afterwards that he was fearing the phone call for a long time that he wasn't going to get a second year in charge. I think Pádraig has done his bit. He has been a Waterford selector. He's been a Wexford selector. He knows his hurling. Whatever is wrong there, I think he does deserve a little bit more time. Like, there's obviously all sorts of conjecture there at the moment about players, and I know Eddie Brennan was mentioning the fact that Matty Kenny was spoken about. I know myself, I remember reporting at the time that Matty Kenny was favoured by the players as well, but there's no doubt that Pádraig Fanning deserved this position in many ways, and I think the county board has to stand by him because they stood by Derek and look what they got out of Derek.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's very raw at the moment. I know it's extremely raw.
Very raw.
I do have a little bit of perspective on this, and I do think that Pádraig deserves the opportunity to rectify things next week.
Okay, Shane, some texters are saying, Michael has texted, those that have been critical, for example, some commentators of Derek McGrath, only a few months ago, people saying that the sweeper system should be banished out of Ireland like St Patrick did with the Snakes. It looks now, says Michael, that Derek had us playing way above our ability. Is there any truth to that comment?
Like all these talk of sweepers and systems and everything, hurling is an evolving game, and kind of every team plays an element of sweeper. We played kind of something like 3 players in midfield last Sunday, and we've done an element of that kind of most of the games, I think, So, like, the game moves on. Like, Derek was there, he got his chance, he was there 5 years. We were unlucky. Like, we were, 20 minutes to go in All-Ireland final 2 years ago, we were a point ahead. So, like, we're not that far off the mark. You go through our team with some great experience around it. The disappointing fact for me is that I think our 3 best players in our 3 championship matches so far have been our 3 youngest players, as in Callum Lyons, Conor Prunty and Jack Prendergast. So I would be kind of looking to the leaders on our team, the kind of that have played 3 championship matches, they have all stars, they have all their experience behind them. And this is where this experience this week has to come from these men to gather people around them and to say for their own pride and for Waterford's pride. And I say to Waterford people, let's go down to Parky Keith on Saturday night and let's give them a big shout. But I'm appealing to the players that it has to be better than what we've seen. I'm never critical of players because I know the effort that they put in and the commitment that they give and the sacrifices is fantastic that these players do. And none of them want to end up like they did last Sunday. But I just think leadership has to come from within the dressing room, from within that group. And kind of, not criticism from outside. That's not going to win anything. But we need leadership from within the group, from our senior players. That's where I'm appealing big time.
Okay, and finally, John, for now, because we're going to continue this throughout the programme, have Waterford a chance against Cork on Saturday night?
Not with the way Cork are at the moment. Obviously, only one team has won a home game in the Munster Championship at the moment, Déise, so that does offer some sort of solace or optimism. But going in without Philip Mahoney, going in without a couple of other players like Stouts there as well, no, it's tough. So what does upset me, and I have a lot of Waterford friends, what does upset me is that people are starting to liken Waterford to Offaly. It's not as bad as that. As Shane said himself, 2 years ago, 20 minutes away from winning an All-Ireland, or 1 point ahead with 20 minutes to go. There is a melee there. There is no doubt about it. It has to be addressed. Obviously, Paddy Joe Ryan, this is his last year as chairman, so I would imagine John Michael O'Regan will want to, the vice chairman will want to look at things himself. I don't think it's Paddy Joe Ryan's fault here either. I just think it's something that is structural and something that will have to be looked at certainly quickly, because we don't want there's just too much momentum being built up by Waterford in the Derek McGrath era, and you don't want that to be lost now.
No. Shane Shiner-Hearn, thank you so much for joining us. John Fogarty, GA writer with the Irish Examiner, thank you for joining us. Thanks everybody who's sending in the text. We're going to get to those texts now in a few minutes and deal with more and this and the idea of Trump visiting Ireland. Stay with us.
Their form has been atrocious, for want of a better description, and to be honest,
we're going to play first a clip here of Henry Shefflin and Donal Logue. They were talking on the Sunday game about the hurling.
since the 2017 All-Ireland semi-final, like they've been on a losing streak. Then I think it's something like the 30s. You have to go back
for decades. It's such a bad.
So it's going to be extremely hard to pick it up. I think there's a major review needed within the Waterford setup, and as a total, it's not just, I'd imagine, what's on the field today.
But isn't it like Paul Fannin talks today about soul searching? We thought there would have been soul searching the last 2 weeks. We thought today they were going to come with something different, and it was worse. The performance was worse today. So
atrocious is a big word. Is that a fair word?
I think it is, yeah, because they lost the first game by a point. The last game against Tipperary, 18 points. They lost by 20 points today. They scored 5 points from play over 74 minutes. So that is atrocious performance.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. Blue Club rewards from mulliganspharmacy.com. Spend a little to earn a lot.
Every time I think I'm falling, I know you're falling too. There's no doubt you're falling.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's pharmacy near you.
Now, welcome back to the show. We're joined on the line now by Paul Allen, PR from Dublin. Good morning, Paul.
Jamie, good morning to you.
Thanks very much for joining us. We also in studio have Una Dunphy, People Before Profit, local candidate in the election last week. Hard luck, Una.
Thanks.
Paul, we're going to be coming back to the hurling. I can ask you about the hurling as well if you want in a minute, but we're going to come back to all the texts and comments that are coming in about the hurling. First, we're going to talk about Trump's visit. What do you think about Donald Trump coming to Ireland and those that would be against his visit?
Well, Damien, thank you for having me on this morning. My firm, Paul Allen & Associates, has proudly worked with two American presidents in the last 27 years. We've worked with President Clinton, who I built a friendship with, and we also worked with President Obama, who came in for a few hours when the ash cloud came. I think we in Ireland need to be really, really careful with Donald Trump. I'm not an apologist for Donald Trump, but I'd like to ask the lady in the studio and yourself, Damien, what's the issue with Donald Trump? What has he done on the people of Ireland? Nothing, I think the answer is.
So, in other words, you're saying that he should be welcomed because he hasn't done anything against us. Is that it?
Well, actually, he's done more than any American president has done. He's actually bought real estate. He bought property. He's got the place in Doonbeg. He's invested very heavily, and he's employing, wait for it, Irish people. Irish people are relying on him to employ them. So if he wakes up tomorrow morning, puts his wrong socks on, jumps into a rage, closes Doonbeg, fires everybody, and then puts out some diktat towards Irish businesses operating in Ireland. And let's face it, we've all had to take a bath and a really terrible time with the downturn. American companies are surviving and thriving in Ireland. They're getting on. But the fact is, the people around Donald Trump are also narcissists, and they are very, very mindful of the profile the American president is engaging with. He's promoting Boris Johnson. He's promoting Nigel Farage to be the next British Prime Minister. This is all a wind-up. I think we're all old enough and mature enough to know. And I'd even go one stage further. He's done more for journalism than the NUJ has in Ireland, because he's got a situation where he's employed more and more journalists because they're covering every waking minute of Trump as he tweets and when he doesn't tweet and what time of day he tweets.
Okay.
It's all a total wind-up. That's the nature of the candidate, and we need to be very, very mindful of what he'll do next.
Una Dunphy, response please.
Yeah, I think we do need to be mindful of him, and a lot of Trump's actions are deflection from what is going on, but I think we do also have to react to the man and to what he stands for. But what I'd like to say first is that Trump is not on a state visit to Ireland. He's a businessman who's coming over here, and the Irish people are funding it to the tune of 10 million to protect a businessman, which I think is completely uncalled for. We have 10 million from Trump, but we don't have anything for 24/7 cardiac care in Waterford. I think we also have to look at the man and say, well, we know what he stands for. He's a racist, sexist, homophobe, and we need to look at that and say, well, we don't stand for that. We will not accept that. And I think with every protest, we keep ordinary, decent people will say that they don't stand for him, they don't agree with what he says, and we need to be out there and to say that.
What about Paul Allen's point that he's done nothing per se against Ireland?
Well, I think if you're going to look at him as the businessman versus the state man, then we're in a very grey area, because I don't think Trump himself even differentiates between the two of those issues. Yes, it's good for Doonbeg, and we know in Ireland that governments that we've had have not done much for rural Ireland. But this is a business venture, and if Trump wasn't there, some other businessman would be there. So it's not that he is looking after the people of County Clare because he's a great man for Ireland. That's far from it. He's making a businessman who's making money from Ireland. And we should forget about this cap in hand to businessmen. That is part of the whole Fine Gael-ness that we've seen over the past while, where we have to bow down and give them such tax breaks, which Donald Trump himself gives out about, by the way.
Paul?
I just simply say that I think what I point out, if I may point out this morning, we're all falling into a naked trap of publicity. It's a publicity stunt. Yes, Una, you spotted that one. He is a businessman coming to market his estate, his real estate, his golf course in Ireland. That's exactly what he's doing. He has a ring of steel around him. It's going to cost X amount, but that's what every other VIP who comes to Ireland is afforded. Courtesy and security, they go hand in hand, and it's critically important that that continues, because let's face it, we do not want have anything to happen on our watch and at any stage, so we need to be very, very mindful of that. But let's face it, I've worked with companies, very many multinational companies that are based in Ireland. They are gravely concerned on a day, minute-by-minute moment as to what is likely to happen with the American president. Because each day he gets up, there's a different message, there's a different tweet, and everybody's jumping around. As I said, he's done more for the trade union movement in journalism than anything, because it means people are employing them. There's a 24-hour news cycle, and he is feeding it.
Is that not a very facetious argument, Mr. Allen? You're involved in the media business yourself, and you love this type of thing, that somebody is putting themselves out there and actually doing this type of thing.
Well, Damien, I think you've fed the industry yourself, and you're sitting in a nice position doing great radio, playing the game yourself. Media is 24/7. The situation is reputations need to be maintained. It's a day-to-day matter, and people need to engage. Look at the business people in Doonbeg. Everybody's happy, from B&Bs. It's going to go on the map, like the way Obama put Moneygall on the map.
Yeah, okay, but that
Irish America love, and the majority of Irish America, from what I see, are Republicans. They support the Republican movement. They see nothing wrong with Donald Trump. We have issues. Donald Trump at the moment is winding up the British political system. No doubt he'll wind up our Taoiseach when they meet for 10 or 15 minutes, either in Shannon, I understand it's going to be, rather than Doonbeg. So it'll just be interesting to see.
Okay.
Everybody be on tenterhooks to see what the situation is.
Let Una come back in there. Una.
Yeah, we're just looking at a businessman being lauded coming to Ireland. We need to look at the man who is full of hate, fear and division, and we need to stand up and say that we don't accept that and that it's not good enough. And there's a lot of Irish people in America who don't agree with Trump, and they don't have green cards. So like looking at the moneyed Irish over there who support him isn't a true reflection of what we're knowing of people we know who are over there and who can't return home. And
would Una have the attitude if it was the communist leader of China, says a texter?
I would.
Una, do you want to answer that one, Una?
Well, let's see if he comes and let's see what we do then.
Would you be protesting against the communist leader of China?
Yes.
Why?
You will. Why?
Well, I don't think the communist leader of China is going to come here.
No, but
he might do.
He might do.
If he turns up, what would you do? Would you still protest? Bet you don't.
Well, we'll wait and see, won't we? But apart from that,
let's face it. Let's face it. We're here talking about an issue, and thank you for the invite. But Una wouldn't be on the radio if Trump wasn't coming. So the fact is, we're all winding the matter up. Maria Bailey took her advice from you last week, Paul Allen, now, and I think you got enough out of that. So it doesn't really matter what side you fall on. I think that was just friendly advice, though. So we leave that go. I just think we need to go softly with the visit of Donald Trump.
We do not need to go softly with the visit of Donald Trump. We need to go straight out there and say that we do not stand over this man and what he preaches. We find him disgusting, and we will stand up and be counted for that.
Paul Allen?
I have nothing to add. Like, as a trade union official, that's what you need to keep doing, campaigning. But as somebody who works with business, you don't see the IDA or Enterprise Ireland following the same or echoing the tones of Una. The fact is, we, Ireland, are a small country. If the issue with Brexit, the UK could get pneumonia as a result of what's going to happen with Brexit. we will literally be on our deathbed if something happens in relation to that.
Yes, but we need to be proactive on it.
Sorry,
we can't sit down and take this.
May I just finish? The UK is going to go through trauma. We're going to have an issue. Could be on our deathbed. The companies that are born on the internet, most of whom are American, are based in Ireland. And we need to be mindful of that whole thing.
Okay.
Many a time I've worked with companies and they're gravely concerned on a minute-by-minute basis as to what's going to happen next. Go softly with Trump.
Let Una respond to that, please, Paul.
Well, a lot of those American companies aren't paying their fair share of tax either. And Trump is against that. So there's a bit of a contradiction in that whole argument. So,
and also, they're not recognising third parties such as trade union movements. Maybe that's the biggest issue that might be...
That's not the biggest issue, but it's one of the issues, yes. But I think that if we're getting billions going through our country, that they should pay their fair share, and that we shouldn't be going cap in hand to businessmen who come over here. If 10 million has been given for Trump, I think the bill should go to Boris Johnson, whoever is running England at the moment. It's a state visit to England, not a state visit to us.
I think we also need to be mindful of the homeless crisis that continually is dogging Irish society.
Absolutely, and if they paid their fair share, we could address that better than we are at the moment. But we don't need millionaires coming in here preaching hate and division when we can't look after our own because they don't pay their fair share.
Paul Allen of Paul Allen and Associates, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate you talking to us. And Una Dunphy, People Before Profit, thank you very much for coming in. Will you be going down to protest yourself, Una?
If I can get away, I will.
When is the protest planned? Tomorrow, is it?
Thursday. Tomorrow in Doonbeg and Thursday in Dublin.
Okay, and we'll be talking...
There's a very broad movement, actually, protesting. It's not just trade unionists and the usual. There's a broader and broader movement getting involved in this all the time because they see the hate that's been spewed.
We'll be talking to another American who will be protesting, certainly maybe not travelling for the protest, but protesting in her own way shortly after the next item. We have lots of texts and comments coming in about this, and lots of texts and comments coming in also about Waterford hurling. Stay with us.
It's a whole new conversation. Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
With thanks to Mulligan's Pharmacy. Over 60 years together. Thanks to you.
Now, what you gonna do about me?
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's Pharmacy near you.
Now, welcome back to the show. A lot of people texting in about the items we've been covering already this morning. People saying they feel really sorry for Ciara, who we had on earlier, who is not going to get a holiday this summer. Now, on Donald Trump, Damien, I sure don't like Donald Trump, but he is leader of the USA, and for some reason people voted for him. But we must not be critical of him, because that would mean we were stooping to his level. Damien, when your guests use the word we, who are they including? They're certainly not including me, says John. On the hurling aspect of another thing, Damien, people like Una are living in the past. If Trump made a massive investment in Waterford, I wouldn't like to see the protests. Now, on the hurling, when your guests are talking about the hurling, says this person, good morning. Going to games the last 20 years, never saw hurling as bad. Don't agree with what was said earlier. We had a good league campaign against the weaker teams, but you could see it starting to come apart against Dublin in Parnell Park. Once we started to play the more physical teams, we were out of our depth. Once we went into the championship, teams exploited that. Our forward line isn't near strong enough. Management totally out of their depth. And that is in from Nikki. Damien, no good blaming the manager. The manager was put in place by the county board. Players must respect him when he is over the team. In my view, some of the players did not put in the work rate on the field, and I think they let themselves down. And that's from Morris in Bonmahon. Damien, Derek McGrath has to take some of the blame for this. We can't man mark after 5 years of his tactics, but the players should be ashamed. Some of the players especially should be ashamed of their effort on the field this year. Justin McCarthy was run out of the gate after giving us the best hurling many of us ever saw Waterford playing. Keep your texts and comments coming in, please, to 083 3333 975. You can call Audrey on 051 846 123. I'm going to play now a little clip of Ken McGrath, former Waterford hurler, and his reaction to the defeat.
Which is one of the longest halves I ever had to watch in hurling. It was embarrassing. It was it's not acceptable really. You know, what can you say after that? There's so many things wrong, you know, and I feel sorry for Pádraig Fan in all fairness. His first year, 5-6 weeks ago, everything was going well, you know. But look, we were in absolute shambles today. In all fairness, it was men versus boys, and at times we were like lads never even played the game at times, and the lack of effort and the lack of even drive in the second half, or even to try and make it respectable. That's the worrying thing, you know. And I said before the game that there was lads there playing that their careers were on the line, and they didn't answer that today, you know.
Now, other people texting in. Damien, could you please give a special mention to the Waterford Miners, how well they played when they had the shackles taken off in the last 15 minutes. The management should have a look at themselves there as well, says Stephen. Another texter regarding the senior team, there are so many things wrong. Fitness, hurling, teamwork, all look way below par. The league games were played at a much lower pace than Championship, and we seem to have not been able to make the step up. Another texter, can you give a mention to the Waterford Miners, how well they played? Damien, why does the manager get the blame all the time? The players are well able to hurl, it's proven, but the players' attitudes needs to be looked at, as they haven't suddenly forgot how to hurl. And another texter has said, Damien, I'm a loyal Waterford man who hasn't missed a Championship game in 10 years. You're beating around the bush here on the radio. The players would want to have a long, hard look at themselves. The way they put the head down after 20 minutes on Sunday. There may be trouble in the camp or anything like that or not. No one likes to be critical. They should play with pride in themselves and for the jersey. I'm appalled by what I saw on Sunday.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's pharmacy near you.
Now, welcome back to the programme. The one thing I have to say about the text and all the texts coming in, it's great that the passion is there. If we weren't getting texts about this, things would be really bad. So people do feel really strong about this, and it shows how much GA and the hurling is and does mean to so many different people. We're going to talk about the football later in the week. It's amazing. The footballers are still in the Championship. I know Waterford are still in the Championship up until... well, technically we're still playing a Championship match on Saturday night. We've had a text in. Damien, our county board is full of officers. Eastern and Western boards in a county of 50 clubs. There are more officers than clubs, and they are very interested in the East-West divide. We're the only county in the southeast and Munster that has, without a centre of excellence or one being planned. Our stadium is out of date, and basically the county board officers are out of date as well. Other people saying that this should go to the county board level. And people will say they were critical of what Derek McGrath was doing before and the tactics, and then the county board brought in another chap, and obviously Pádraig would say that he's doing his best. Damien, players have put their tools down after the match on Sunday. Players had a media ban. Damien, others saying that Pádraig Fanning simply has to go. He cannot be giving another year. And there's so many more comments on that, and I'll come to those comments and those texts as we go along. Kieran Kennedy, proud Waterford man, how did you feel on Sunday about the hurling?
I was devastated for the fans, and you know, we've gone through it before, but you know, these guys put in a serious effort in training. It didn't click. It obviously didn't. They didn't come together well enough. So there are questions to be asked. You know, getting rid of the manager straight off isn't necessarily the answer. There are questions to be asked, but I mean, you know, you have to give someone a go at it, and if they don't succeed in the first year, well, fair enough, but they have to come on fairly strong next year, and if they don't, then they need to rethink.
Now, we want people to text us in about what we're going to talk about, Kieran, because we're talking about a topic which has got very interesting sort of feedback on this. Claims of unfair instructions, foul-smelling driving test instructors, and a failure to conduct driving tests in Irish were amongst complaints received by the state last year by people who failed tests. You're a well-known driving instructor here in Waterford. Thank you very much for coming in to us this morning. Do you get people complaining about driving test instructors?
Yeah, driving testers, instructors are our side of the things, but
driving testers.
You do, Damien, and sometimes, you know, you can see their point, and sometimes I will look at the sheet and say, like, you weren't doing this wrong. What's going on there? But as regards to odours and things like that, we're very lucky in Waterford in that we have a whole new log of examiners, and they're very polite. They're very fair.
And they smell nice.
They do smell nice, as far as but like there are complaints. There are complaints about particular tests. I won't say there isn't, and quite a few, but there are ways around that. But regarding the test, if a person passed the test, it's lovely. If they failed, there's always a problem.
It's a bit like the hurling. If you win, sure, listen, we'll put the things that aren't really good in behind the curtain. If we lose, as I said earlier, all those things come out from behind the curtain. Like the figures show that in 2017 there was a pass rate of 53%. So there's still a lot of people that are going into the test that are just not able to do it.
There are, but in any given day, a tester told me last week, 5 people mightn't turn up for a test. 5 not show up. So that brings the fail rate right up. You know what I mean? So I'd be interested to know how many fail that actually sit the test or get to go out, because you have other people misfortunes that a brake light doesn't work for them. You know, I've often checked brake lights for people and they'd go over and whatever, they're not working. You know what I mean? This type of thing happens. Are they part of the fail ratio? I don't know. And if they are, because, I would think personally an awful lot more of my clients than 53% pass first time, and a lot more lately, because the younger kids are doing the test now. Before my age rate would be from 30 to 35, 40, 45, up to 55. I've just come from Tesco, Lisdongan there, where we were getting a presentation of it for St. Paul's Boxing Club. And I know more of the old ladies walking around there than I actually taught. Now, I'm 56 and they're in their 60s and 70s. So for me to have taught them, they didn't do their test till late in life. That's completely changed.
Yeah. Do you ever get somebody that you just know, this person can't drive? Or can everybody drive?
Almost everybody can drive. I had one particular boy years ago, and it actually ended up that it was an inner ear balance problem. He couldn't straighten up the car. But I will, if I have to suggest that you get an automatic, and that's the answer for some people. Because, Damien, if I had my choice tomorrow when I retire, which is not a million miles away, I'd buy an automatic.
Would you?
I would, of course. They're lovely to drive, so why wouldn't you,
And in terms of that young boy, that man at the time, how bad was he? Was he swerving from side to side? Was it?
Yeah, he couldn't. If you had him even in the car park and he wanted to go left, he'd go right. He couldn't steer the car. And that is one of the few people in 28 years that I've had to say, you need to go back. And I spoke to his mum, and she went back to the doctors, and that's what she came back to me.
And do you ever get people that are arrogant and that are basically saying, I know what to do and you can't tell me what to do?
Yeah, rarely, but I did. I had a German lady one time, and she just pulled in the side of the road and turned, are you going to tell me what to do for the next hour? And I said, I'll tell you you're brilliant if you want me to. I said, but if you want to pass the test, I'm not criticising. No, what she said is, are you going to criticise my driving for the next hour? I said, it's constructive criticism, madam. I said, if I don't do it, you won't pass your test. And she snapped out of it. She realised it wasn't her husband giving out to her, it was her driver. She said, sorry, and we went on and she passed her test. But very rarely, people know you're doing your best with them, and if you do it in a mellow and relaxed, non-aggressive way, you'll get through to them. And, I will say, Damien, people are in awe of testers. They're terrified of testers. They're human beings going in doing a job. Right, we've one rude one. The rest of them are gentlemen, and the lovely ladies doing it as well. They are civil servants. They're doing their job. They would not be as highly skilled as a driving instructor, because the driving instructor has to find the faults, cure the faults in a polite manner. They just tick a box. So, you don't have to be in awe of these guys. They have the power to pass and fail you. They're not there to fail you. You know what I mean? Go out, relax, do your test and do your best.
Somebody has texted in, Damien, Kieran Kennedy is the best driving instructor ever. There you go now. That must be somebody related to you, is it?
Yeah, my mother is.
What's your mother's name?
Josephine. Oh, she's in Dublin, it's not her.
All right, okay. But this idea of somebody actually complaining about the smell of a driving tester, whether that was the reason the person failed the test, but it would be really off-putting if you sat into the car and you were so wound up and so tense about doing this test and you get this awful pang of body odour.
Yeah, totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. That or rudeness in 2019 is not acceptable. You must remember, you're paying €85 to do this test. They have to provide a service in a polite and fair manner. And if they don't, you have right to complain. Now, if you have done a test and you feel the tester was rude and whatever, most people would just complain and let it off. You need to write in and complain, because there's only 1,700 complaints. I'd get to hear more than 1,700 complaints and I'm only one instructor.
But you'd never be able to prove that. Should it not be a case that there should be dash cam maybe put into every in every car?
Well, that would be
because if I complained, if I failed my test and I passed it first time and all that, but if I failed it, nobody's going to believe me.
Yes, exactly. And the appeal system is a joke. Even if you win in court of the judge, you just get a free test. Now, if you've had a bad experience with a particular tester, you can write and say you have a bad experience, and when the next test comes up, you email him and you tell him, I don't want Johnny Boggs or whatever. I've had him before and I don't want to take him. Whereas if you hear Johnny Boggs is bad, you can't write in and say I don't want him, because you have to have had the experience with him.
Do you get together? Do you have a little club of driving testers, driving instructors in Waterford?
Not really. We'd pass each other and ring each other, you know what I mean? We'd update each other if there was a different reverse and, you know, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? There are some very good instructors in Waterford, some very good driving instructors in Waterford. And I'd have to say 99.9% of the testers are very polite and very fair, you know.
Did you ever have to pass a person on to another instructor because you couldn't handle him or her?
Well, no, I've often been sacked. Like, the people have always moved off. You know what I mean? You know, for whatever reason. You know, but no, I've had some fabulous experiences and met some fabulous people over the last 28 years, and I am a people person, so I do enjoy it.
Damien, a person texted in, I did my driving test a couple of months ago. I had 2 testers in the car with me, which I thought was very unfair. I failed, but I was under so much pressure doing it. I never heard of that. 2 testers.
You see, you had 2 scenarios there. One, the fellow in the front is training to be a tester, and the guy in the back will tell him what he does at the end of it, what he's done wrong or right. But the person in the back has no say in any way, shape or form as a result of the test. But I can understand how it puts people under pressure.
Imagine it would.
The other thing then is it's the supervisor checking that the tester is doing his job right. So don't be intimidated. You'll actually get the fairest test in the world if you have a fella sitting in the back, because they can't do you unnecessarily. They have to be sure.
Damien, can you ask Kieran, why do we have crossings on roundabouts? I don't think.
I find them very, very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Especially exiting a roundabout. I will always tell drivers not to stop exiting unless someone has started or out in front of you. I find them very dangerous. They defeat the whole purpose of a roundabout.
Damien, what about someone who's a very good driver but gets nervous during the test and finding it very hard to pass?
You see, to pass your test, you have to be consciously confident. And what I mean by that, Damien, you or I, Damien, drive home, and we don't even think, did we go through the last roundabout? But we went through it, we went through it correctly. For a person to pass their test, and this is what I drum into all my clients, you have to talk to yourself from the start to the finish. First roundabout, I'm down to second off clutch, I check my mirror indicator, I look and I look again.
Talk privately to yourself?
Yeah, one guy did it out loud and the tester told him to shut up after 20 minutes. But you talk to yourself from start to finish, because if I'm practicing to give an exhibition and drive, Damien, I have to tell myself what to do, because I might leave my hand on the gear, I might leave my elbow on the window. I'm not perfect. I never claim to be. As many times on the radio I'll say we're all, let he who has not sinned throw the first steering wheel. But if you talk to yourself, put him out of the picture, tell yourself what to do from start to finish. You won't daydream. You won't be wondering what's he about to put on the iPad. You're thinking of here and now and what's in front of you. You think of here and now and what's in front of you, and you will give yourself a very good chance of passing the test.
Men or women, better drivers?
Women are better clients in that they pay more attention, they're more attention to detail. But like the way it is nowadays, Damien, they both drive equally as well. The myth of a woman driver is mythical. You know what I mean? They can be a little more aggressive now than they were years ago. You'd see that when you get lifted out at the odd time. But no, I bet you even the pass rate is much the same with both. They're both very skilled now. Irish drivers are very skilled, Damien. We just need more education from 4 up. You know, so they understand exactly what they're doing. They're well able to pass the test, but you can ask them 10 questions and you'll get them all wrong.
I love these cars that don't have to use the indicators. They're amazing, you know. And these drivers that don't have to use indicators, you just love them. You just think they're great, don't they? They must be special cars, are they?
Generally, Audis, Mercedes, and BMWs.
Oh,
they beep most as well. I'm going to get lifted. If I get beeped on a roundabout or whatever, I can say to the client, is it a Mercedes, a BMW, or an Audi? And I'm sorry, I have some good friends, all, including my brother. So, I drive
an old Audi, an 11-year-old Audi, you know.
If you're not a beeper, I apologise.
No, but that's a good point, because so do you think there's a level of arrogance there with some drivers? Big cars, they think they've big egos, big personalities, and they'll say, I need to get there and you shouldn't be in my way.
Exactly, 100%. And that's just the way of the jungle. That's the way it is. That's calling it as it is.
Isn't it lovely when somebody does something nice for somebody else on the road? Let somebody out, or whatever the case. It's a lovely thing to do.
Exactly. And you see, the one thing you make sure you do, Damien, is you don't wave someone out. If you stop and let him out, but if you wave him, you're putting yourself half responsible if anything goes wrong. But I always, wherever I'm going, I'll always let one person out. If I come to the end of Viewmont in a queue or whatever, I come to work, I'll let one person out, and the next day I'll let one person out. If everyone does that, it makes the world a quicker place for us all. But also, bad driving, queues, it's down to people daydreaming and not keeping with the flow.
Yeah.
You're leaving gaps between this car and the next car. Keep the flow going. Keep concentrating on what you're doing.
Shaving while you're driving, on the phone, putting on the makeup. What's the funniest story you've ever had?
Well, it wasn't to do with a driver, and I think I mentioned this before. I came to a roundabout at the bottom of the folly, and there was a lady texting on her phone, walking across, pushing a pram, and her 4 little toddlers came behind her like ducks. Now, that's more negligent than I've ever seen any driver doing, but you do see people. I see a lot of truck drivers, believe it or not, using their phone, and they're highly skilled individuals. But, you see so many things, you could write a book on it.
Any very specific tips for this texter? He failed his first test, and he has an upcoming test now.
Yeah. You need to go out and practice for half an hour. Everyone's obsessed with going out and staying out. A test is 30 minutes long, 35 minutes long. You need to go out, go through your faults in your head. You need to, whoever your sponsor is or your full licence or your instructor is, first of all, you need to go over the faults you got in the last test. Having said that, you need to, everyone has different faults every time to go, to a slight degree. So you need to go out, concentrate, focus, tell yourself what you're doing, half an hour, take a break, and then go back at it again maybe later. But, if you failed, you need to go over your faults with your instructor.
Nobody ever suggested that you'd bribe the instructor or anything like that, or the tester, no?
No.
Not yet.
And I don't know anyone looking to do their test in Irish, because if they're looking to get instructed in Irish, they're in deep trouble.
Hard enough to understand in English sometimes. Damien, did you know that indicators are optimal extras? There we are. Kieran is dead right regarding the white lines at roundabouts. They're lethal, says this person. And others saying, fair play to you, you're a great Eamon Dalton, you're a brilliant instructor. So that's to Eamon. Coming up, if you have anybody involved in scouting, you won't want to miss the next item, and also all the texts and comments regarding the hurling. Kieran Kennedy, thank you very much. Continued safe driving.
Pleasure, thank you.
Join the WLR conversation on Twitter using hashtag Déise Today.
With thanks to mulliganspharmacy.com.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's pharmacy near you.
Now, welcome back to the programme. I'm joined on the line by Frank Conway, a leading financial expert with MoneyWhiz.ie and founder of Irish Financial Review. I'll come to you in one quick second, Frank. I just want to read out a few more texts. Pádraig took the effort to ring in this morning. He says he felt the Waterford players didn't make enough effort on Sunday, and when management should have taken some of them off, they didn't. His view is that we need change at the top. Liam wonders if anyone from the county board was available to comment on the hurling this morning. There wasn't anybody available this morning. He also says that the revamp of Walsh Park was only a minor job. Very little effort has been put into it. Jamie has been talking about the windows at the former Waterford Crystal Factory in Kilbarry. It's awful there and something needs to be done about it. Mary says Ken McGrath's right. The players didn't try on Sunday. It's no good blaming the manager. He is only there a few weeks. Seamus says he felt it was disgraceful, and he said he felt for Ken McGrath watching on the telly. He was clearly hurt by what was going on. Now, Frank Conway, good morning.
Good morning.
Frank, the repercussions of permanent TSB being hit with the biggest ever fine imposed by the central bank. This was like a whopping 21 million. What's your thoughts on this and how things are continuing to unravel regarding the Tracker mortgage scandal?
Well, I think it's a sign that there probably are more fines to come, because this was not just one bank. For example, Permanent TSB at the time was the largest residential mortgage lender in the country, and it followed a flawed strategy of following Bank of Scotland, which entered the market with very cheap tracker rates. And And along the way, it got into difficulty when the markets changed in 2008. And effectively, what it did is it tried to penalise or claw back profits by absolutely squeezing homeowners that were finding it very difficult to pay mortgages and taking people off track of mortgages when they shouldn't have taken them off, or not notifying their customers. And really what it showed is that it put its own profitability at the forefront, and secondary was the financial well-being of its customers.
Like the figures in this, again, we're talking about 21 million. Apparently, though, this only amounts to around 7% of the bank's own operating costs for last year. Now, the bank will obviously have to pay significant redress and compensation to affected customers. You've written a lot about this. Others, such as Charlie Weston in the Irish Independent, have written a lot about this. And underneath all these figures, there are real people. There are people who have lost houses. There are people who have suffered financial distress over the last number of years because of this.
Yeah, and an interesting thing, I think, in all of this as well is while the banks themselves were taking very bad decisions, and we have to go back to 2008, 2009, 2010, when the European Central Bank policy was to make mortgage lending very, very cheap for homeowners who were getting into financial difficulty. They cut interest rates at a phenomenal rate, where we've got 0% borrowings today from the European Central Bank. Banks like Permanent TSB are going in the opposite direction, increasing interest rates where they could. So even those who weren't on tracker mortgages, those who had very standard variable rate mortgages, were also being impacted. And that's the story that's actually not being told in all this. But I think what's also very interesting is even though the central bank has fined Permanent TSB the 21 million, and they will probably fine other banks as well, we've had a whole plethora of issues over the last number of years. The central bank, interestingly, also doesn't get off the hook, because what they didn't do along the way is they didn't come down soon enough to banks and say, you cannot do this. What they waited to happen was for people to lose their homes or to get into extreme financial difficulty. And now they're coming back with the fines, which are interesting. People will get money back, hopefully, and get back what they should have gotten back, which is a place to live and a place to live comfortably. The central bank has gotten off the hook, I think, largely, and nobody has actually gone back on them and said, well, what exactly were you doing? You should have taken steps very early on in the process to stop banks from actually doing this, instead of allowing them to continue on for years with what was now deemed to be an illegal activity.
Absolutely. Frank Conway, leading financial expert, thank you very much for joining us this morning. MoneyWhiz.ie and founder of the Irish Financial Review. More texts and comments coming in about the driving. Marion is age 62. She tried to learn to drive many times, but she's just too nervous by nature. She thinks the best time to learn is as a teenager or in your early 20s, when you are full of confidence. We've had a call in from Linda regarding her passport expiring last Thursday, and we will try and maybe talk to Linda. Damien, the county board, should come on and do something about the situation. Damien, it is ridiculous, this situation regarding the hurling, says this person. Up in the West, we still have a marvellous panel. We didn't get that bad over a couple of weeks. Tipperary were poor last year. In comes Liam Sheedy. What a transformation. We need someone like that. Fanning has done his best, but not good enough. And this from a disappointed Déise fan. About the hurling, the management is not on the pitch, says this other texter. It's the players that are out there, and they need to get a grip on the game. Really good Waterford people spending money to go to watch matches, which effectively is a mess.
WhatsApp Damien now on 083 3333 975. Déise Today on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. Make life easy. Pull into Ireland's only drive-through pharmacy at Mulligan's Arkeen.
I made no promises. I can't do golden rings, but I'll give you everything.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's pharmacy near you.
Now, welcome back to the programme. Damien, PTSB increased charges on our accounts by €2 per month in June. Everyone get hit by these fines, and that is in from Paul. Damien, it sickens me to see all these people who go out and protest against the American president, but stay silent while our government and our politicians here are running around our country and running our country into the ground. And a lady has texted in, I'm the mother of one of the Waterford miners, and I believe the way these boys have been treated this year is a disgrace. My son has been affected mentally in a bad way by these experts in hurling. If that's how 16 or 17-year-old miners are being treated, what do we expect going forward? A very interesting text there, because it does show The criticism that people make regarding hurling and any comments that people make do have effects on people as individuals and players and their families, and it can be very, very hard to take. And that's one of the reasons that we try to analyse things without the emotion, and that's very difficult, particularly when it comes to sport, because sport, as Jurgen Klopp would say, is effectively an emotional experience. Now, Jack Power, reporter with the Irish Times. Good morning.
Good morning, Damien. How's it going?
Good, thanks. People know you, Jack, as one of the main reporters now with the Irish Times, and we've been speaking to you before, and you're writing today on the front page of the Irish Times about Scouting Ireland is going to issue a full apology for child abuse. Remind our listeners, please, Jack, what's this all about?
So I suppose Scouting Ireland has really been fighting a lot of controversy over kind of governance standards and safeguarding standards over much of the last year, and kind of boardroom controversies. But in late last year, the organisation disclosed to an Oireachtas committee that an internal review had identified over 100 previously unreported cases of child sexual abuse in its legacy organisation. That figure since then has now grown to over 300 alleged victims and nearly 250 perpetrators suspected of molesting children through past decades. So what Scouting Ireland are preparing to do now is issue a full institutional apology over the abuse suffered by children in its legacy organisations over the years.
And how are they going to do this, Jack? What form will this apology take, do you know, and where and when will it be delivered?
So the details aren't out as yet. It'll be delivered by the chair of the current board, Adrian Tennant, and it'll be a public apology. But Scouting Ireland are basically preparing, before they can issue this apology, they're basically preparing, I suppose, a suite of supports in terms of victim support scheme, to have that in place and, I suppose, up and running before they issue the institutional apology.
And
so it's due to come in the coming weeks anyway.
Yeah.
No set date as of yet.
Now, there is this man that people know, safeguarding expert Ian Elliott, and he has been advising Scouting Ireland, looking at the past failings and what lessons can be learned. The implication seems to be at the minute that the Scouts now have a culture of safeguarding. Is that right?
Yeah, so I suppose I sat down with Ian, who's been working with Scouting Ireland since mid-2017, I suppose, kind of reform their safeguarding standards and address any current deficiencies that he found. So he is confident that the current safeguarding culture in Scouting Ireland is robust, and that it's come along leaps and bounds even since he came on board to consult with the organisation over about a year and a half ago now. So he's confident that the current standards to keep children safe are up to scratch.
Because when we were covering this story in March and April with yourself, and the follow-on then with Scout leaders contacting us and so many parents and so many questions about all of this, obviously groups are looking at themselves and saying, what sort of procedures do we have in place, and just making sure that everything is completely watertight.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the key question in all this. When this does hit the front pages of the newspapers, or as you said, on the airwaves of the radio, that the parents who have children currently in the Scouts, the first question they will naturally ask themselves is my kid going to be safe if I send them off to a camp down in Larchill or Glendalough or wherever? And there was a spat of controversy between TUSLA, the state family and child agency, which criticised Scouting Ireland's current safeguarding standards, and they kind of found some faults and came into a bit of a dispute with Scouting Ireland and Ian Elliott to somewhat extent, who was defending the youth organisation in the face of criticism from TUSLA.
The work that you've done on this, Jack, do you think Scouting Ireland has files on things that may have gone on in the past? And if they have, do you think that they're fully open to giving those files to Catherine Zappone's department, for example?
Well, I think they've certainly been, they've certainly been very open about giving them to the authorities in terms of An Garda Síochána and Tusla, in terms of where they get, in the last few months where more and more people have come forward, I suppose, since this has really been in the news about abuse they suffered, maybe decades ago, that they have been absolutely open to passing all the new information they're receiving onto the Guards and onto Tusla, or for example, PSNI, when somebody might refer to somebody who is in the north of Ireland. I don't, as far as I know, I think they've, I suppose, opened up their files to the Department of Children. But I suppose Minister Bone is somewhat confident that Tusla are in the loop in relation to new files coming forward and new information coming forward on alleged perpetrators of abuse.
Jack Power of the Irish Times, thank you very much for joining us this morning. A lot more callers and texters still talking about the hurling and also about passports. We're going to be talking to a lady in a second about her story regarding her experience with passports.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. Join Mulligan's Blue Club today and get points every time you shop in-store or online at mulliganspharmacy.com.
I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone.
Calling WLRFM listeners. I think it's time for you to go. To Cork City, that is, with Dublin Coach. Otherwise known as the Green Bus, Dublin Coach leaves an amazing 9 times daily from Merchants Quay in Waterford, WIT, and from Davitts Quay in Dungarvan. Dublin Coach, Cork City right on your doorstep, 9 times a day. We also accept the free travel pass, so no excuses. Get the gang together and have a great day out at a time that suits you. Book online at dublincoach.ie.
Reputation is everything. So for your new SUV, look no further than Sheridan Waterford, the SUV experts. Look at our popular Sportage, Sorento and Stonic models, or the Nero plug-in hybrid with grants up to €7,500. Look at great finance offers from as low as 0% APR. Backed by our unique Kia 7-year warranty. Choose your perfect SUV at Sheridan Waterford on the Cork Road, or log on to sheridanwaterford.ie. Lending criteria and terms and conditions apply.
All the talk is about VAT increase and price hikes and so on. At Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring, we're going the opposite way and we're paying the VAT on all tiles, all laminate flooring and all bathware. The only VAT we have is very attractive tiles. Right Price Tiles VAT-free sale ends Sunday. Stores nationwide.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's pharmacy near you.
Now, welcome back to the programme. I'm going to be joined on the line now in a second by Linda regarding her passport story. Firstly, Damien, it's hard listening to Don Logan, Henry Shefflin on the Sunday game. It seems to be on the outside looking in that there's some deep issues wrong with Waterford hurling, and we need to find out before it's too late. Damien, the same team robbed against Tipperary last year in Thurles. Now Tip will win the All-Ireland possibly. Damien can't understand why the hurlers don't come on and tell the supporters what the hell is going on. It's not good enough. My understanding is, and I was talking to a few of the hurlers, obviously at the minute they want to concentrate on the match against Cork next Saturday, so after that we may hear from them. Damien, it's just, it never saw anything as bad as we saw yesterday. We are gone again from the Championship, and this is the 4th of June. Damien, we need a new county board. This is part of the problems. Now, Linda, good morning.
Hi Damien, how are you?
Good. Linda, thank you very much for calling the programme. And you were listening to Ciara from Cappoquin earlier and her sad story. Tell us about your situation regarding your son's passport.
So mine was a little different. It was last Thursday morning. We were preparing to go. We were heading up to Dublin Airport to go on our holiday. And through my own fault, oversight, was looking at the passport and his passport was out of date. So it was a complete shock. I just couldn't believe it, how I'd missed this. So we were due to leave at 1 o'clock to head to Dublin to go to the airport. And I was in a total panic. And we were flying with Aer Lingus, and I rang Aer Lingus to see what the situation was. Could I change the flight? What would it cost me? Perhaps I could go Sunday and try and source a passport. So I was talking to the girl in customer service, and she said, would you not chance it? She said, would you not just chance going to Dublin with your old passport, get all your documentation ready and see what they give you one? And I just kind of thought, look, I may as well. Nothing to lose. I've lost now anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't do anything. So we got in the car. We got up to Dublin. Got into the passport office at about 3 o'clock. And my 2 kids, my husband, we were there, had all the relevant documentation. We'd gone to the Garda barracks. We got the photos taken. We had birth certs, old passport, everything. So we were brought in. You go in the door, turn right, and then you take another left. And there's this, glass kind of office. And there's 2 seats. And there was one person there at the seat. So there was no queue. Up I went and was met by this person and just told him my situation. So was there anything he could do for us? We were flying at 7 that night. I had his old passport. We're in a conundrum. Is there anything we could do? And basically it was just like, no, you need to make an appointment. I said, I tried to make an appointment online. The whole of June is grey, because if it's grey, there's no appointments. All of May is grey. I couldn't make an appointment. So he said, what you can get is, if you can prove you have a flight within a 3-day period, they will issue you a passport. But you have to make an appointment for this. But I was like, sure, I've only copped it at 11 o'clock this morning that I didn't have a passport in date. So he said, we'd fly up. Can you facilitate it? He's like, no, you should, maybe if you came here at 9 o'clock this morning, you would have got one by this afternoon. But the people stop working at 12 o'clock who deal with these renewals. And I'm like, ugh. But there was 4 other people in the office at this stage in the day. And I'm sure I was the only one that was leaving on a flight that evening. And I was just, is there any way you could help me? And he's just like, no. He said, it's only a holiday. You'll get over it, kind of thing. And he just said, and we drove up from Tramore or whatever, and he was like, they drive from all over. He just had a look that we were exasperating him. And you were just kind of like, to say it's only a holiday. Sure, we looked forward to it all year, and it cost money, and just to kind of, the kids were standing there. Just the rudeness of it just was uncalled for. So you're in a tizzy. So we just said, okay, fine. So we decided we'd stay up overnight. We were upset, and we said, look, we'll just stay up. And the next morning I said, sure, I have all the details here. I'll just go over and put it in the queue to be processed. I'll leave it there as opposed to go home to the post office and post it off and register it. So I went back in, same guy. And I said, can I just give you all these details and pay for it? And you can put it in the pile to be processed. And he was like, no, you don't do that. I said, sure, what do I do then? So he said, you can't put it in a post office here. He said, it could end up anywhere, or that's just crazy. And I said, well, what am I to do now? I still need a passport. So he's like, just apply online. It's quicker, it's cheaper, and that's the way to do it. And
that's ridiculous.
Basically, I forgot to say as well, the day before, when he said, if you were here at 9 o'clock, you still would have got a passport by 3, even if you hadn't made an appointment. And I said, well, I'm come here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning and get a passport. This would have been the Friday, and I book a flight for Saturday or Sunday, because that would be the 3-day period. And he said, well, no, I'm not telling you to book a flight. So I said, you can't guarantee me then I get a passport. So we were having another discussion then on Friday, and he basically said again, if you'd come here at 9 o'clock, you would have had a passport today by 3. And I said, well, you told me yesterday, don't go booking a flight. So, to book a flight on the Sunday would have cost me another $1,000 just for the 4 of us. I would have kept my return flight.
How much?
Another $1,000. The flights had gone massively up.
Yeah.
So
Kira
we were going to Croatia. It was going to cost me €1,000 just to get out on the Sunday.
Wow.
So you couldn't risk it after I'd paid for everything else, because the flights were paid for in December and the hotel was paid for in May at the beginning. So it was all gone. So that's why we kind of went up in the car, because you've nothing to lose at that stage.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what I was just saying is there is a 3-day renewal system, but the nearest date was the 10th of June. So that's no good to anyone who comes into a situation where they're copping their passports out of date. So the other thing is, the way you get notifications to renew your tax online. I suppose it would alleviate a lot of problems if they could send us, when your passport's coming up on 6 months due to expire, that maybe they could send emails going, it's going to expire in 6 months.
So what's the situation? Is it all gone?
All gone. Sure, I can't claim on insurance. It was my own oversight, That's not really. So it's gone.
And would you describe yourself as one of these people? You sound very calm and assured, and the type of person that would not forget about the young lad's passport.
I can't believe I did it.
I know. I'd say
all
you're
the time.
kicking yourself.
It's just so. I just couldn't believe it. it keeps flashing into my mind when I look at it. That's a picture of him and the date, and I was just like, no way, like this doesn't happen, but it did. Like I had everything else booked. I had my pickup booked. I had my toll booked already to go across the M50. I had everything organised. I was just like, it was like, I don't know what it was like. It was nearly comical. I just could not believe it.
Oh, Linda.
But the worst part of the whole thing was him up there, just so rude.
Yeah.
Like, I've worked in customer service. I just think, and I know it's probably not the best job, but there's ways. There was ways of handling. We were upset. We were frantic.
Yeah.
We were trying to sort this situation out, and he just made you feel like you were the stupidest person ever.
Yeah.
And it was an oversight. And, I've talked to people since, and I'm not the first.
And it is a warning, and that's one of the reasons that we had on Ciara this morning. You're out in Tramore, and is there any way you can go for any other holiday?
I'll try and do something. I'm trying to work with the hotel that they will honour the booking at a later date, but they're pressurising me now for dates, and I can't give a date because I need a passport. And,
of course.
So I'm hoping I might save the hotel. I'll have to book my flights. So I'm trying to work on that. But as I said, I'm caught. I have to wait till my passport. I can't book a thing.
Oh, dear.
But of course, then I booked that through a website, and if I'd booked the hotel direct, it would have been easier. Well, you live and you learn. Sometimes you think you're being cute or savvy.
Yeah.
Until something goes wrong. But just the whole thing, I just think in this day and age there should be a system or a process. When your flight's leaving in 6 hours, you have everything there. The parents are there. It was an 8-year-old child. He's hardly a security risk. Why they couldn't facilitate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel so sorry for you, Linda. So sorry for you. Listen,
just for other people to know.
It is. It's a salutary warning for people, absolutely. Listen, if you do get anything, let us know, will you please?
Yes.
Do keep in touch. Let us know.
Okay, thanks, Damien.
Linda, thanks for joining us this morning. Linda phoned in there to Déise today, and her story there, break your heart, just the amount of money that is just gone because of that, and your holiday is gone. And I suppose part of the whole beauty of holidays is the idea of looking forward to a holiday. An old friend of mine, Michael Parsons, said that to me years ago. He said it's not necessarily just a holiday, it's the fact that you have it booked and you have maybe 3 or 4 months or 6 months looking forward to it, and that's one of the beauties of holidays, and that certainly applied to Ciara and to Linda, the stories you heard this morning. We've a lot more stories coming up and a lot more texts and comments to read out regarding the hurling. And first I am going to go and mention some of the hurling stories. Firstly, we had a text in. I won't be protesting against Donald Trump, said this person. I'll be too busy working to pay off my massive mortgage and my property tax on my tiny little 3-bedroomed house. I will also be working hard to pay my USC and my other taxes so that those who increase the taxes and charges in the budget can continue to do so next to nothing and take their big wages and expenses. Another texter has said that, I think the hurlers are spoiled. They seem to run the county board. They don't play when they're not happy with management and they don't get what to look at. Others are saying that we shouldn't be critical of the hurlers themselves this morning. I'm surprised on this day and age with mental health how publicly critical people are of the Waterford team. They didn't play well. It wasn't their fault. To publicly be ridiculed is a disgrace. This should be discussed privately with the team and the management involved. It's easy to criticise from the sideline, and that is from Barbara again. Texters coming in from all different aspects of this, and we are going to continue with that. Damien, interesting that we didn't have anybody from the county board on this morning. They are well able to talk when they want to. What has happened? I feel sorry for the players, reading all the comments about them on social media. We are a good side, and yes, some of the lads over the last few games didn't turn up. Those lads know who they are, and I think they know that better than anybody. I sat, said this texter, behind the dugout in Thurles, and from my point of view, there is not enough leadership from the sidelines. I will always support the Waterford hurlers, and while I was saddened leaving Welsh Park on Sunday, I will continue to support them. Personally, I think, says this person, I think Pádraig is out of his depth, and also some of the blame must go to the backroom team. And this person is texting, who is questioning the issue of the health and fitness of the players in terms of their whether they were fit enough to withstand the championship fervour. Now we have Vincent Jennings on the line. Good morning, Vincent. We have Vincent Jennings on the line. Good morning, Vincent.
Good morning, Damien.
How are you doing? Are you well?
Very well, thank you. Yes.
Good. Chief Executive of Convenience Stores and Newsagents Association. Now, a survey of the sector reveals a quarter of newsagents describe feeling extremely concerned over the level of aggressive or violent behaviour that customers that they have to deal with. Can you tell us about this, please?
I can. Thanks, Damien. This was in response to a number of what seemed to be a growing difficulty from retailers relating to specifically aggressive, violent and threatening behaviour from people, even though the word is customers, they're not actually customers at that stage when they're stepping outside the market at that level. But we did a survey and we got both Musgrave and BWG to assist us. And we got 1,820. That is a very, very substantial number of responses from retailers around the country. And we found that, and these are the frightening stats, and I won't bore you with stats, but 84%, 8 out of every 10 retailers and greater than found themselves to have been at or their staff having had aggressive, violent or threatening behaviour, and 43% of that was in the last month. Of the survey, which was done in February, March. And though 25% were extremely concerned, a further 44%, another 69% in total, were concerned about this. So this is not the burglaries, this is not the scam artists, this is not all the other things that are difficulties for us. This is violent, threatening and abusive behaviour. So it is not the drive-offs on the forecourts, and it's not the people who are coming down through the roof and stealing from you. It's not the shoplifting. It's actually people behaving in a violent, in a threatening and an abusive behaviour inside in our stores, and it's got to stop.
How do you get it to stop?
Well, for a start, you actually have to get the police, the Garda Síochána and the judiciary to see that it is really important to implement a completely changed policy. And the changed policy that we're looking for is simple. It is zero tolerance. That it is not good enough that somebody behaves aggressively or is threatening to a staff member or to other customers or to the owner of the store. That it is not good enough that they steal and expect to get away with impunity. That it is not good enough that the probation is handed out willy-nilly, that people have got 134 convictions walking the streets, going into our stores. Last week, a recorded case in courts, 134 convictions. A man walks in with a meat cleaver into a store, walks out with the till. A meat cleaver, 134 convictions, and he's walking the streets. That is so wrong. It's got to stop, Damien. It has to.
It's got to stop, and it's something we're going to have some retailers on tomorrow to talk to us about this. Vincent Jennings, keep in touch and we'll follow up any other details.
I really appreciate your interest in the matter, Damien, and thank you very much.
Not at all, you're most welcome. Vincent Jennings, Chief Executive of Convenience Stores and Newsagents Association, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We're now going to have Roisin O'Donoghue on the line in a second. Firstly, Dave has texted from Dungarvan. The county board were not on the field on Sunday. It was the players. The supporters club gave 80,000 to the team since January. That's in excess of 3.5 million spent on the team since the start of the McGrath area. The county board are not flush with money, but have given this bunch everything that was asked for. Last Sunday was the worst attitude from some players I've seen in a Waterford team for many, many years. Another texter saying, Damien, my say on the match is that this person is blaming the management and that the county board have to take some blame as well, that they were out of their depth. Soul searching has gone on long enough. That's from another texter. Now, Roisin O'Donoghue, good morning. Roisin O'Donoghue, good morning.
Good morning, Damien. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Not at all. Delighted to have you on, and I'm sorry we don't have too much time to give you, but we've been overwhelmed with matters got to do with on the hurling field. You're a secondary school guidance counsellor and member of the Irish Institute of Guidance Counsellors. I know a lot of the parents they're out there this morning, they had a really, really stressful morning this morning and going to have a stressful morning tomorrow. A few tips and advice for students who are starting their Leaving Cert tomorrow, for the parents and for the students. What do you have to say at this stage in the day?
Absolutely, Damien. Well, look, I suppose the first thing to mention is that a certain amount of stress and nerves and anxiety at this stage is perfectly normal. That kind of level of stress means that the students are invested, they're motivated, and they're really in performance mode at the moment. But it is important to carefully manage that just so it doesn't become overwhelming for the students and for the parents themselves. I know for parents at the moment it must feel like they're walking on eggshells, and I would just, I suppose, give the advice that it's important to keep calm and carry on, basically, to keep an air of calm in the household and to avoid projecting your own stress and anxieties onto the students themselves. Plenty of encouragement, plenty of saying, I'm proud of you, keep it up, praising the efforts, plenty of good food, and encouraging the students to take plenty of rest breaks. For the students themselves, I would say it's important to get a good night's sleep, to not be tempted to pull an all-nighter tonight in advance of the first exam, but to really take the time to rest and avoid excessive tiredness. If they really need to cast their eye over something, I'd advise getting up early tomorrow to do it instead.
Because at this stage, there's very little extra learning can be done. And the other thing is, if you don't get a good night's sleep, not to be worried about not getting a good night's sleep, because you can get yourself stressed in saying, I have to have a good night's sleep, and you end up not having a good night's sleep.
You're so right, Damien. And at this stage, it's all about just taking your time and taking good care of yourself and just minding your well-being, eating well, having a good breakfast, and taking breaks. Get outside into the fresh air if you need to. But really now at this stage, the exams are a chance for you to just show off what you have been learning for the last 2 years. There's no way that you'll get every piece of information and knowledge that you've learned over the last 2 years down in the exam. So take your time, take stock, and think about it as a chance to show off and shine.
Absolutely.
I would say that there are little practical steps you can do to kind of relieve stress at this stage. And probably one of the most important ones is to be prepared in advance. Make sure that you double check you have everything you need for tomorrow, your stationery, lay out your clothes or your uniform the night before, and arrive at least 15 minutes early to avoid any last minute rushes.
Absolutely.
And taking care of those little things can really help alleviate the stress.
Roisin O'Donoghue, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Secondary School Guidance Counsellor and member of the Institute of Guidance Counsellors. That's all we have time for this morning. We've more of your texts and comments to read out regarding the hurling. We will do that tomorrow. Thanks everybody who took part in the show today. Thank you everybody who texted and called in. And somebody has checked their passports. They're flying in 2 weeks. So it looks like we've made a difference in their lives. Jeff is up next.